since we were all together, we can do our quick little movie thing, because we can do a quick little thing about Star Wars, because you actually saw it recently.
Yeah,
and then me and Mr. Fantastic can do a quick thing on Bright. Kind of avoiding spoilers and stuff, but we can kind of brush through it.
All right, Star Wars, quick take, hot take.
You had time to think because we saw it yesterday.
I
we
had
actually
time
both
to
saw it
think.
last
I had
night.
time to think. Like I said, man, Mr. Fantastic, Invisiblekatana, y'all know I came ready to destroy this film. Like I was ready. Bring it on, Star Wars nerds. I'm ready for
it was
y'all.
mixed, wasn't it?
Oh,
like the reviews and stuff.
A lot of mixed reviews. Like I got from people, I hated this, I loved it, it was alright. To me, it's literally in the middle. It's literally in the middle. I can't say that I hate the film because I personally stayed engaged throughout the whole thing. It went until like the last couple minutes. I'm like, okay, y'all about to wrap. They wrapping it up, you know. So I wanted to get like, you know, once I got bored, I'm like, okay, I mean, clock this time. We're in the middle of the movie, and I'm, you know.
Yeah.
But
and it was also the longest Star Wars that they made.
Was the
too,
longest.
So.
I felt it.
Yeah.
I felt it. But overall, I would say I enjoyed it because, and it was okay. I can't really give it too much praise because at the same time, Star Wars to me is like, you set a standard. At least hit that standard every time. At least. I can't judge you. I couldn't judge a Star Wars the same way I judge a Bright. You know what I'm saying? Or any other film. Because it's like, y'all should get literally all the best everybody in the world. Best writers, best this, best that. And make this fucking film. What y'all make with it.
That formula doesn't always work though.
Yeah, it doesn't. But my thing is, and I was talking to somebody about this today about the movie who didn't like it. I was saying that some of this stuff did disappoint me because I felt like if you know that you have one of the biggest movie franchises in the world, you as just a director, even just as an executive producer, you have to know what you're putting out there. You can't, I can understand, okay, let's take the story in this direction, let's do this, but you have to satisfy fans, because this loyal fans is gonna see this movie more than once. Like them motherfuckers like Invisiblekatana. They see this shit more than one time. So you have to satisfy them. You also have to satisfy people almost like me who going into a movie who don't want to know the other Star Wars per se before you watch. You just want to see a good movie.
But that's a hard. I mean, that's a hard.
It's hard, but it's been done.
Okay.
It's been done. It can be done.
Now, okay, so this is what, the third Star Wars movie that Disney's taken over, right?
No, it's the second.
Well, no, they did Rogue One, right?
Rogue One, yeah. So I guess technically.
Because they're coming out, because that's what they said they're going to do. They're going to come out an an actual installment every other year, and then in between that, it'll be like a side movie, right?
The Star Wars stories movies.
The first two were so well received and so good that
of this batch you talking about?
The first two, yeah.
So we talking about Rogue One?
No, Rogue One and
The
Force Awakens.
Okay.
And so mind-blowing. And people didn't know what to expect with Disney. They didn't know. I mean, it was half and half. People were like, oh, it's going to be great because it's a Disney production.
They thought it was going to be great, a lot of people? Or
it was like half and half.
Okay, so some people thought because of Disney.
Yeah, and I'm a really big J.J. Abrams fan, and he took care of the Star Trek series pretty well, especially the first one. So, like, the fact that he was only getting the first one, I was like, this is perfect because I think if you give him... and then you can let someone else take over. So I was excited about that part just to see where it goes. And my wife was like super stressed about Disney taking it over. She's like, is Mickey gonna, I mean, these were serious questions. Like, are they gonna make, because think about it, every Disney movie has like other Disney references and cartoon references and
stuff like that.
Yeah, so are they gonna do that in this? Are they gonna try to keep it true or whatever? So for me, like, I think now it's just at the point where it sounded like it was just kind of a good movie. It was mediocre. It was all right. It entertained you. But people are expecting like to be blown away. And I've never seen a franchise that blows you away every single movie.
They didn't do that with the prequels. So,
the first ones?
Like episodes 1, 2, and 3, I mean.
Okay.
So those came out, and it was, of course, Star Wars had been, it was first Star Wars. It was just like Force Awakens, first Star Wars in forever. So a bunch of people enjoyed it, and it was that whole thing. That was me seeing it because Episode 1 came out like 1999, something like that. I'm pretty sure it was before 2000. I think that was 1999. So that was when the prequel started. It was the 90s. I'm pretty sure it was either 98 or 99.
I know it was the 90s because I remember my age at the time.
So it was either 98 or 99. So that was actually, that wasn't the first time I saw Star Wars. I saw like the special edition of the first movie. I still remember that in theaters. So Star Wars comes out. Episode 1 is like, holy crap, it's new Star Wars. It's more action-based. Oddly enough, I can instantly go to the first thing that people hate about this movie, which is you see new force powers because they use super speed in episode 1. But it was like, man, Star Wars is out and it's this whole thing. And then it was 1999. Mm-hmm. So it was this whole thing. But then that went away after episode 1. Even before 2 came out, episode 1 had that hype because it was Star Wars. And then it went down and it was like, George ain't doing it too well. And then episode 2 came out, and the only thing people remember for episode 2 is sand. People know what I'm talking about. Is this line where Hayden Christensen says, "I don't like sand. It's harsh and stuff like that." That is the joke of episode 2. Damn. Episode 3, I think, is sweet. Actually, I like episode 3.
Which one is Attack of the Clones?
That's episode 2.
All right, that's the one I liked.
Okay, see,
well,
that was
a lot of
people,
and a lot of people liked the storyline of that because from that came the animated series and all that stuff.
Yeah, I love because Clone Wars animated series is one of the best Star Wars things like ever made. That's amazing. But the movie is probably my least favorite out of all the movies. Episode 2.
All of them?
Ooh, yeah, out of all of them. And I'll be honest, Darth Maul takes just like it straight to the top for episode 1 for me. I can't help it. Like it don't matter what else is in that freaking episode 1. Darth Maul is like the sweetest thing in the universe.
Okay. Well, what you were 12, 11?
Probably, yeah, something like that. And I still, like I said, I enjoy it. And even if I watch it, for me, episode 1, and this is the thing, episode 1, I still feel has more moments that I like as far as action. I feel like it's better paced because episode 2 is a lot of talking, but it's not like Last Jedi how it was talking. I was like, I like this with Rey and Luke, and then Empire Strikes Back is like, I like this with Luke and Yoda and he's training and stuff. It wasn't like that in episode 2 for me. It was just a bunch of talking, and it was like there's a difference between me liking just the talking and me being bored, and that's why I like episode 2 the least because there's so much talking. Then the end is sweet because once they do that, it's like a billion Jedi fighting a billion droids, and this is great action sequence for like the last 30-40 full minutes of the movie, which is awesome. But a huge chunk of that movie is just a bunch of talking. Some of it's cool because you learn some stuff, but most of it is like what people make the joke about, where it's just the Republic and the Senate, and it's a bunch of political stuff.
I think
throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, that is a
and that's why it's that's my least favorite.
But
one,
I
though.
think, a really huge problem with it is I think they have to learn how to find a balance because me as a filmmaker and as a writer, sometimes I can understand what they're doing with movies. Mm-hmm. Like I was telling one of my coworkers at work who didn't like the movie based on some stuff in the writing, and I'm like trying to explain to him like I can understand seeing this movie and saying I wanted this, I wanted that, and why did you do this, why did you do that, I hate it. Yeah. But the way I was looking at it is like the reason why I didn't hate it is I understand what they may be trying to do. The Last Jedi was just a bunch of setups. Like you're really setting up for the new quote unquote generation of the Force. You kill some people, you know what I mean? Some other people. You introduce a few characters, and you introduce the end of the movie just kind of felt like.
Here we go. Like, it was just like the Force Awakens.
You gotta
like,
see the next thing. You know what I'm saying? And that sums up all the talking, the dialogue, the setups. When you make a setup film, because you got a whole bunch of other films.
Yeah, but wasn't that kind of what the Force Awakens was?
And that's one of the things I've heard is where people say it was the introduction. Like that's what people were saying is that this, even though Force Awakens should have been the introduction, this was the real introduction to the trilogy, which is a weird way to do it.
Which
going
you
into one more.
Tell because if it wasn't, you would have, like I said, you basically with not giving away nothing. You have Rey, who is the movie is her coming of age story. It's like she's training with
Luke,
training with Luke, doing all that, and they getting ready to tell her story. And another this, like I said, this is why I'm just like, come on, writers, like I was telling you, like a lot of the stuff in the movie like was just so predictable.
Figure stuff out,
I can kind of tell where they're going with it because it's just like you get fans who don't know a lot of this stuff or don't know a lot of like how people would try to play writing in movies and set you up for this and how you feeling this for that. Because I hear a lot of the big thing is people are unhappy with the reveal of Rey's parent. A lot of people don't like that. What is that? You gotta cut that out.
That's a spoiler.
How's that? I'm not
already
spoiling
knows about that. I thought you talked about it in the podcast.
Never mind.
You were like,
with the reveal of okay.
Yeah. I didn't really say nothing. I just said
what
most people would. I think you can.
Yeah, because your exact thing was a lot of people didn't like the fact that they wanted certain people to be Rey's parents, but they weren't. So like you even spoiled it more. But whatever.
I'll take this L. All right.
No,
back to it.
If you thought that, I'm just saying. Anybody that thought I'm sorry. If this is considered as a spoiler, then you're dumb. If you thought that Rey was gonna be either Luke or Leia's daughter, then you're stupid. That doesn't make sense. That's dumb.
But it's Star Wars. I mean, Luke and Leia kissed, and then you found out they were brother and sister.
Exactly.
So, like,
That's
I
bad
mean,
writing. That's bad writing. I think we've gotten past the kissing scene when then they had, like, I mean, I don't know what George was thinking, but then he had Leia say, "I think I always knew." It's like, no, she didn't. Why did you tell me to kiss?
But what based on what Mr. Fantastic said is what I'm trying to explain to people.
It's definitely
just
the
because
theory
they
stuff.
put out.
It's just fan based. It's fan based. It's the theories built for 2 years. And then you don't get the theory you want.
No. Well, okay, it's not
matter.
about getting the theory you want, but if you can kind of see the setup, my whole thing is, if you get a setup that I can see disappoints people, they did it on purpose. Like, they can literally say, you know what I'm saying? They did it on purpose. It's for something. I'm not gonna say what it is because to me it's clear and it's obvious. As just from a writer-director perspective, they're not just gonna throw that away because that's what a lot of people feel like. Oh man, I'm so disappointed. I wanted this and I don't wanted that. I'm like, just wait for the next.
You can
movie.
change anything.
You can,
Anybody can change
the way
anything.
you do it right and like, you know what I'm saying? And then this person was with this person all along and we never knew about, you know? So it's just like, yes, the whole film just felt like a setup. Cause I'm looking at it.
You gotta think, they gotta set up for the final movie of a
the
series that has
trilogy,
been
yeah.
around for 40 years.
Well,
And then they gotta go into whatever the next trilogy is gonna be.
right. So,
And
you know.
however long that's gonna take if they do, you know, because I'm sure, you know, we talked about how they're planning every other year is the main installment, but of course it's not gonna be that way with the next trilogy. At least I doubt it. I don't think it's just gonna be Han Solo comes out and then episode 9 and then after that whatever and then episode 10. I don't think it's actually gonna be in 4 years we get episode 10.
Okay.
I feel like it'll be a couple of the side story movies, and it still might take 5 or 6 years before the next trilogy.
Yeah, because once
starts up.
episode 10 and all that stuff happens, isn't that new writing? Are they taking it from the books? How are they doing that?
I would assume it's all new because all the comics, everything, for people that don't know this, everything that's comic based is called Legends. None of that is canon anymore. Okay. So like none of that matters. None of the games matter.
I think the
It's
difference
like
is
the
from
TV
what you're
shows.
saying, as far as like them in the span they're gonna show the movies. Clearly, Disney is letting you know we taking this in a whole different direction that Lucasfilms would have took this in. Because even
Force Awakens was different.
that's what I'm saying. Even when they dropped, I would never ever expect you to drop 2 Star Wars movies. You see what I'm saying? Within the same year, let alone like a year, like a back-to-back year.
Yeah.
I always expected them to be spread out just based on it being Star Wars. But this, and I hate to say it's a money grab because like I said, I wasn't totally disappointed in the film, but like they not. If I stayed like a huge Star Wars film, this probably would piss me off a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, but just because I went in looking for a
Just
good movie,
whatever.
I wasn't disappointed. But
And I think that's another thing with Star Wars is that any movie or franchise period that's that big, it just can't, like you mentioned,
It can't
in
hit a
general,
home run
you
every
can't-
time.
Exactly. And it's like, even when it's just a good movie, it's Star Wars. It's like Star Wars, it has to be seen as like this grandiose thing. And even Rogue One wasn't like that to me. Like I enjoyed Rogue One, but there was a part in the middle that straight up bored me. Like you were talking about how there's talking in this. It was just like talking with episode 2 in Rogue One. There's a scene after like there's the cool setup and like after they get off like the first planet, there's like this huge action sequence, and then there's a ton of talking as they're going into like the next action moment. And I was like, this is boring to me. Like it was just a huge chunk like right in the middle, and that's the only part I don't like, but it's super noticeable. And it was just like, that's boring. But the rest of that movie is just really, really well done. Like I like the war element of that, and I think it's done really well. And then you get, the main installments kind of have that more amped up Star Wars kind of fun feeling to it.
okay, real quick, Bright, what I need to know about that?
Really cool concept, shitty delivery. I mean, that's
The
basically...
concept do seem sweet as
It's
fuck because I'm looking at
fucking
the
cool.
trailer like, damn,
Yeah, the
this
concept
looks
is
like shit.
fucking cool. It just the
Delivery,
jokes.
yeah.
Okay, so we talked about Get Out on here, and to me, it's kind of in the same realm of what they're trying to discuss.
Yeah.
And the jokes in Get Out hit spot on, were funny, made you think about shit. Bright, complete opposite. Like the jokes were like things you hear 10-year-olds say, and like what the media's trying to do, and it wasn't funny at all. But the concept is fucking cool.
And
So
for,
if they
just to explain it, just in case, for anyone who doesn't know, it's basically
a
this
buddy
world
cop
is-
movie with
yeah.
orcs.
Yeah, it's a
It's fucking
mythological.
cool, man.
Yeah, it's like a mythological film. So there's orcs, there's elves, there's fairies. There's supposed to be 9 races. You only see like 3 or 4 in the movie. And that's another thing about it. Like we talk about how the main thing is like the orcs are black people. That's what it is. So there's like a lot of racial stuff and like orcs getting
that's
like
terrible
they
when you
get
could just
beat.
kind of because in
No,
movies you're supposed
man.
to be able to.
No,
there
it's
is no.
there's
it's
no. I mean,
110%.
yeah, like he lives, like Will Smith lives in the hood, and like
I
it
think
pans
like,
over.
He lived next to humans. He lived next to normal humans. But when he's with his partner, who's like the first orc cop, they go to a place, and it is full on stop resisting, beating them down.
Yeah, and
Hardcore.
they're wearing wife beaters, and like they've got
they
their
wear
own
the jerseys
style.
and stuff, and it's just like it's full on.
They had the fitted caps.
Orcs are black people. Yes, they have the bandanas. And
had the Jordans on.
It's jerseys, and it's
They was
either
sipping Kool-Aid.
it's either black people. There's
It was each-
Latino people in there.
Spitting watermelon.
Could make it more obvious.
No, they could. I mean, they could have had
That was about
Tupac playing in the background, and it wouldn't have been more obvious.
They
I
had
mean,
rapping orgs like
They had some wild ones.
yeah.
They had like the hardcore metal ones.
Yeah.
But it was super obvious. There are centaurs in there, so that's another one of the random races. But it's super obvious as far as like, and I think I watched. Honestly, I watched it the perfect way. Because I was like cleaning up my room, I was doing like a bunch of random stuff, and I was just like, oh, okay, this is action sequence, and I was paying it some attention, and like I didn't really pick up like the race stuff was so obvious it was there, but I didn't feel like it was trying to even tell a story with that, if I'm being honest, and maybe it's because it was so insanely obvious, I didn't feel like there was something to tell, because I'm like, as blatant as this is, there's not a story.
Well, like
it's just
it's funny because I watch it like full on
Mm-hmm.
because Will Smith was like a huge movie star growing up, like Men in
Will Smith
Black,
was
and
awesome.
He's awesome, and so I'm like, oh my gosh, he's gonna revolutionise Netflix. Like I'm so excited. I want to see
afterwards. Go ahead.
Afterwards. Fuck, man.
No, in a minute, because I just want to touch on it. Because go ahead.
Okay. Anyway, so and this will be it on this. They made it so obvious that it was almost joking. So you're sitting here like, okay, either joke about it. Let's watch a comedy about racism, or let's watch a serious drama about racism. Pick one.
Right.
Please just pick one.
Right.
And that's what was so frustrating about the movie is you didn't know like what it was trying to do.
Because it's almost like you're not taking serious the serious topic that.
I mean, he beats fair.
Yeah.
It says fairy lives don't matter today. Like I'm just like in front of orcs, and I'm just like, what? What am I supposed to think about this? Like, is it supposed to be funny? Is it supposed to make me think about like it's okay to pick on some people but not others? That's what society's at. Like, what does this mean?
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
And then even outside of that, the story is just not.
Yeah, but the
like-
concept is really cool. Like, if
Yeah.
it gets in the right hands, it would be a fucking
Like
badass.
this movie is like the sequel that's missing the first movie, where it talks about so much stuff. Where it's like
That you just don't
this
even know about.
this ancient legend, and there's like this great war that was 2,000 years
Yeah.
ago, and like they need 3 magic wands to raise this dark elf. Which maybe there's supposed to be a sequel, so maybe they'll do that in the sequel. But it's like all this stuff, and it's just like
You just have to
we
go
got
with
this,
it.
and then
Yeah.
that's
Basically,
it. It's
they was
about
trying
one
to-
magic
They was
wand.
trying to like set up their own little Star Wars franchise. A little
Sort of.
Sort of.
Like
I
they
think
had like
that-
a whole
I think-
mythology in it.
Yeah,
It was like if
but
they did it as a
they
TV
came
show,
about
it
it the
could have
wrong
been
way, and
done.
I think that's where Netflix showed their age or their youth, I guess, because like a big network would have seen that script and said, "This is a great concept, but we're gonna do a prequel first. We're gonna get to this point. This will be the sequel, so we're gonna shelve this, rewrite the script." I think is what the conversation probably would have been. But this is the guy who did Suicide Squad, and one of the big things in Suicide Squad is a lot of his ideas, a lot of things that he wanted to do weren't allowed to be done because
it got
of
redone by the
producer overhead. So the producer said, "Do whatever the fuck you want. Here's the money." It's
Just-
and
yeah,
so
based
like,
on that, I got
and
you.
it looks like a kid who got given the keys to a candy store.
I
I
got
mean,
you.
that's kind of what the movie looks like.
Okay,
Like,
that make a lot of sense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like-
get that same Hollywood oversight. That's like, no, get that bullshit.
Yeah, they
out of
have
here,
like
get
the
that bullshit.
cool, like you said, the cool concept, great elements within said concept, which is like this whole
and the
mythological.
styling of it's pretty cool too.
Yeah, like the whole idea of this mythological war and magic and stuff and bunch of stuff. All right, this is a slight spoiler. It's the dumbest thing. Only certain people can hold magic wands or they'll die, right? Whole movie they're going through, there's at least 2 to 3 situations where it's like, give us the magic wand. If he just said, sure, and he tossed it to a human, they would have blown the fuck up. And I was like, why is he saying no? Just like, no joke. The first scene, they show this dude explode. 5 minutes later, they get surrounded. It's like, give me the wand. It's all humans. It's not like anyone who can touch the wand unless they're considered a bright, and it's like 1 in a million for humans.
Yeah.
And so it's like, just say yes. Just be like, okay. Just flick it out. Let somebody grab it. The whole room, everyone that's right there,
there was a
would've
lot
just
of
died.
holes in like their
all they had
stuff.
to do was just be like,
Cinema Sin's killing this movie if they got
absolutely.
Okay.
It's just like, you just showed us. It's 1 in a million. Maybe this dude who's chasing them, who knows? Highly doubt it though. 1 in a million. Just toss it and see what happened. I mean, they were surrounded. It's literally, we're surrounded. We'll get shot up and die, or just toss it and they'll all be dead if it's them, and we pick it back up. It's like, that's all he had to do was test it. Because it was literally the same. It was just the two of them.
And then the guy
trapped.
who goes to grab it, while he's going to grab it, I don't know, man. I mean, it made me mad because it could have been really fucking cool, and it could have changed the whole landscape of movies for sure.
And that's what I want to end on. Just a simple question, because my whole take on it, just being a person invested in this new era media versus who I'm banging on, which is the old era, the Hollywood rapist era. I don't really want to deal with that as a director. So the only reason I was going to support this movie, good, bad, or ugly, you see what I'm saying, was that to me it was revolutionary, the fact that they got Will Smith, one of the biggest, stars in Hollywood, into a Netflix film and trying to basically rival Hollywood on that level, because Netflix does. You don't have Hollywood and chill, you got Netflix and chill. So that's kind of being looked at as the new thing where people are going to go for their movies and TV. And what I heard was a lot of the Hollywood critics, just about every one of them, slammed this movie. Good or bad, they gave terrible reviews.
Well, that's because they get paid.
Exactly.
They're gonna lose a job if they don't.
So my question is, all right, how do we feel about this? It was
good enough. It's good enough to do what it needed to do.
Okay, you think so?
I think the public liked it enough. I think it was entertaining enough. I mean, we're talking about it from a very critical standpoint.
Right.
But
As far as,
overall,
like,
I mean, I finished it. I didn't turn it
yeah.
off.
And most
I
of what I
enjoyed
hear
it.
is it's okay.
It's okay. Like, the action, I think, was cool. Like, the enemies
Now, if
that chase them down.
if I would have paid $10 for it, it'd be a little
if
different.
It was at the movies, it'd be different.
But I mean, for a free
with your
Netflix movie
just check it out.
and where Netflix movies started at, like Adam Sandler and like these
Ridiculous
awful
6 and
movies,
stuff,
they've gotten better.
Okay.
I mean, they have gotten better and they've gotten more exciting and they're taking risks. So I mean, I don't think by critics slamming it, I don't think it changed the perception of what people wanted.
Okay.
I mean, that's one of the great things of the internet age and people getting together is like critics don't have as much power as they used to. I don't think food critics, movie critics otherwise. People like what they like now and they find enough people that like what they like, so it's okay.
You know what's funny, because the whole talk about Netflix, like people are saying, like new studies show that like big critics, like people who have like mass audience, like the old Hollywood style, they don't get as much influence, but they finding that small, like even smaller YouTubers with their little niche audiences and things like that, they have more pull, you see what I'm saying, over their following. So it's like where you used to go to Ebert and Rover to get a review, you might go to this YouTube guy or a couple YouTube guys, you know what I'm saying? So that's interesting. We'll be mapping that on how stuff going, because I really did want to watch, not even just for the movie, I wanted to watch how this was going as far as with Bright, because I do want Netflix to rival Hollywood, because Netflix, unlike Hollywood, is a business who will give an independent filmmaker money to do a film.
Look at what they did with stand-up. I mean, we thought Comedy Central revolutionized stand-up, and Netflix is...
And did the Dave Chappelle one already come out yet?
Yeah, it came out January 1st.
How did that do?
I haven't.
I've watched the first 10 minutes, but I've been wanting to watch the Craig Ferguson one because I'm a huge Craig Ferguson fan, and he's fucking funny. It was really good. And then I watched the Judd Apatow one, which was really funny. But I mean, that's the thing. Like, they're putting out people who either had a career in the past and are trying to research, or up and comers. I mean, it's really interesting. I mean, that's what I like about Netflix is. My wife likes a romantic comedy. She can watch 100 of those. I like my dark, weird shit. I can watch 100 of that. On the same thing, and it's fine. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
just like my girl said, she said these TVs and movies on Netflix is getting crazy, because I think she used to pride herself on being able to say she saw the good stuff.
There's no way to keep up anymore. There's no way, man. So like back when it started, of course, because there was like 15 things to choose from, and it was old shows or old movies. I mean, so yeah, shout out to Netflix, man. I hope they do their thing and cut me a check in the future. Please remember this name.